like it just vanished, you know? He just completely vanished into thin air, it felt like.
In Utah's Missing Tonight, a member of the Ute Tribe living in Sandy vanishing without warning. Police body camera footage and a mysterious final stop in a motel is the last anyone saw of John Kurip. Nearly a year later, no witnesses, no footprints, no answers as to what happened to him. Jim Spiewak talked with investigators and John's family who are holding on to hope to a case that's growing colder at this point by the day.
Well, Brian, John received a stipend from the tribe each and every month, and it hasn't been touched since he went missing almost a year ago. This is one of the videos that shows one of his final moments that anyone saw him while in the Salt Lake Valley. The next moment, poof, gone without a trace.
Oh man, he really was the life of the party.
As a father, John Kurip tried his best to be a great dad to his now 20-year-old daughter, Alicia Solis.
He was a really big light, you know, and he just brought joy and knew how to make everyone laugh.
Kurip, a member of the Ute Tribe, struggled with alcohol but had recently completed treatment.
We were all going to go to this concert together and we were going to have dinner before we left.
But that night never happened. On August 10th of 2024, Alicia began receiving a string of strange texts from her dad.
He was texting me and asking me what time it was. He was asking me where he was at. He was asking me where I was at. It was just weird.
John also texted his parents, who drove several hours to the Salt Lake area to check on him.
By the time that they had gone out there, he was gone. He was just nowhere to be seen.
Slowly lifting away.
In the hours before he vanished, body cam video from 7:42 a.m. on August 11th, 2024, shows John admitting to recent substance use.
You're at a rehab facility, yeah? Right?
I completed it.
You did?
Yeah.
What was your drug of choice?
Alcohol.
Police had been called after John was spotted knocking on doors, even entering a home where he was chased out at gunpoint.
A little too much?
No.
John was not arrested. He declined medical help, and police drove him back to his apartment in Sandy. Then at 10:10 a.m.,
have you knocking on people's doors, walking in their backyards and stuff. I also don't want you passing out.
In this second body cam video from Sandy City Police, John is wearing different clothes.
So I can take you back home, I can take you up to the hospital, whatever you want to do.
Can you take me to the townhouse suites?
Like the ones right by the Sportsman's Warehouse? Yeah, I'll take you there, man. I don't care.
And is that the last we've really seen of John? That is the last that we know of John and any contact that we've had.
Retired Deputy Police Chief Chris Bertram is a private investigator on this case.
What do you think happened? I mean, do we think John's alive? We worry about that, that maybe something has happened to John or something John has decided to do with, by himself. We're just not sure.
For nearly a year, Bertram and other PIs have followed every lead. John left behind all of his belongings of his stable life, which included a tribal stipend and close ties to his kids.
Did somebody give him a ride? Did somebody have an interaction with him? Did somebody pick him up and, put him in harm's way? What's surprising to us is we're in an urban area, and we have not, nobody's found John. And so we're concerned about that.
I want my dad home.
And so is Alicia, who's already spent a Father's Day and a birthday without her dad.
A part of me is just kind of like, are we ever going to find him? A part of me is kind of giving up on that hope.
The Sandy Police Department is in charge of this investigation, which they say is still active and open. They're trying to pursue any lead that they can. And talking about leads, the family is now going to put up $5,000 for any information that can help lead to finding John and bringing him home, whether he is dead or alive.
Chris Bertram makes a good point here. A lot of the missing person cases that we share have some remote or rural element to it. This is urban. Midvale, Sandy area is very high traffic, especially, you see these places where this body camera is from. Those are residential areas. We live in a day and age where cameras are everywhere. So it's wild to me to think that nobody had any sort of other surveillance of him to a certain point. With that said, you have a lot of great imagery here of John leading up to, I guess, his last moments, if you will, of when somebody may have seen him. Kudos to you for bringing that out here to share this. There's a lot of bizarre pieces in this case. What strikes the investigators as perhaps most confusing with all of this?
Well, the fact that John had a seemingly very comfortable life, they admit, his family and investigators admit that he did struggle with substance use disorder. Alcohol was his primary choice of a substance to abuse, and he was getting treatment, so they admit that. But he also had a very comfortable life. He was getting that tribal stipend, which was pretty healthy. So he had money, he had a nice apartment that he was living in a nice part of town, and he had a great relationship with both of his children. So the question is why would anybody want to give all of that up? The other thing that's confusing to investigators is that his phone, all of his belongings were inside the apartment when they finally were able to get in and search and see after they knew that he was missing. And because he was dressed, you see it in this video right here, he's dressed in a much nicer outfit than he was in the first video. This is the second video, one of the last times we saw John. The family is concerned that maybe he was dressed nicely because he might want to cause harm to himself. That's one of the theories that they have.
Some things that you mentioned there, you mentioned the phone. A lot of technology pieces lend officers the ability to look through and find and canvass. Now, I know that Sandy police say this is an open and active investigation.
Yep.
Did you ask them about the phone?
Yeah, and they looked through the phone. They did find some concerning text messages in the moments leading up to August 11th in the video that we see right there. But there wasn't really much more that they could decipher from the phone. And you asked the question a little bit earlier, how does someone just vanish in today's day and age, especially in an urban setting and environment? The family canvassed the area around where he lived right after he went missing. They even went up into Big Cottonwood Canyon and searched because he liked to frequent that area. But one of the things that's a little frustrating to investigators is that a few months went by before PIs were brought on by the family, and by that time, a lot of the video in the surrounding area had either been deleted, it had been overwritten, it was gone. And so they weren't able to piece together that next piece of the puzzle after they know that he was dropped off at that motel at about 7200 South in State Street. And so that's one of the confusing parts, that's one of the frustrating parts, is that they wish they had known a little bit earlier so that they could maybe go and get some of that video that they think might be gone now.
Well, you have the faith in the local police department when they say, can we have your help? You have that idea in your head, oh, they're looking into this. When in reality, departments have a number of cases they're working on at once.
Yep.
They have only so many people with so many hours, with so many avenues to look for things. You mentioned Big Cottonwood Canyon. Is that somewhere that investigators went to physically look for him?
Yeah, they did. They took out dogs. They looked out there, and that was a place that he liked to frequent all of the time. He was in Big Cottonwood Canyon quite a bit. The family, they put out a search party just in the couple days after they knew that he was missing and that he was unaccounted for. So they searched all around the area, in and around his apartment in the Sandy area. But again, to no avail. And that's kind of one of the confusing things, is that just poof, gone. They want to know, listen, do you recognize John? Did someone maybe pick him up and give him a ride, not knowing that he is now missing? Police would love to hear from you, and that's one of the questions that they're trying to ask. Is there someone out there that maybe gave him a ride and can help them get that next piece of the puzzle?
At this point, so much time has gone since the last known sighting that investigators or police, in theory, are aware of. So does the family hold hope that he is still alive?
Yeah, they do a little bit. Obviously that would be the best case scenario for them. But in talking with Alicia, his 20-year-old daughter, she says that the family is now starting to realize that maybe the worst has happened to John. And if that is the case, they are somewhat prepared for it, but they would also like that closure, even if that is just finding his remains and bringing those remains home and maybe trying to get some answers that way as to what happened to him in his final moments.
John Kurip, if you can help with any sort of just recognizing the face, perhaps even the clothing he was wearing, and in some of the videos you saw there, please let Sandy Police know. Of course, the family would like to know. Chris Bertram, a private investigator, would like to know. You can reach out to Jim and let him know. Any way to share that information is valuable. Jim Spiewak joining us on Utah's Missing Tonight. Jim, where can people get caught up on the story?
Yeah, if they want to head over to KUTV.com, right there is the story, and you can click on that link right there. There's some information on how you can easily contact police and investigators if you think you know something that might be able to help them out.